developers keep things in line. I mean, keep a steady fan base, because it also removes the negative influence. If a player doesn't want the game, he's gonna refund it, and he don't have to hate the game anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how will that influence the fan base?
Well, possibly well, I'm not sure because it has to be. I mean, you can't. You have to refund a game within 2 weeks. So if someone buys a game and then doesn't play it for 2 weeks and then gets to it, well, they're not going to be able to get a refund for it. So it's only going to affect people who buy it and then like instantly play it. And I think as both of you will agree, many of us on Steam tend to buy games in bulk and then just have them sit in our backlogs for a long time.
Yeah.
I don't.
You
Like,
are a far better man than I am.
every single game that I have, I've finished.
That is admirable. I am kind of in awe of that because I have a huge backlog and I really wish I didn't.
Like, I am the kind of person who's like, if I'm going to spend even 30 cents on something, I'm gonna have to play it. Like, I'm
Mhm.
a moron that bought. I'm the moron that bought it. Why have it stick there? Like, it's only
Yeah,
getting my numbers up, like my Steam numbers up, and I sure also don't want to give Valve money for no reason. I'm not. I'm not a philanthropist, for fuck's sake.
hmm
Yeah. Okay.
especially not
That's.
for a borderline monopoly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But as far as if it's going to change the community, I'm not sure. It may. I think the positive thing that might happen with refunds is that, like I said before, people will be more willing to take a chance on lesser known indie games. In my own case, that could be a plus and it could be a negative just because my games are such, niche titles that I'm not sure if it's actually a boon to attract people who are like, I'll just try it out and see if I like it, as opposed to people who are like, I know I will like this sort of game, so I'm gonna put down money on it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So it remains to be seen. I mean, there's so much about this that there's just no data yet. Even the, developers that have come out and say that they're getting this huge amount, this huge number of refunds on titles. There are still a lot of unknown questions about that. Like two of them at least were mobile developers, and the question is, well, were those good mobile ports? Then there's that whole thing about people refunding games that they bought previous to the refund policy and stuff like that. So it's going to take a couple of months at least for to be able to make
Just
any decisive statements on
To
whether
make
the
it sink
policy
in,
is. Yeah.
the dust to settle
Um,
down and be able to make assumptions.
yeah, I like I said, I can't tell you exactly when the sale is, but it is
Yeah,
coming
it's
up, and
obviously.
yeah, obviously. And the big question, I guess, with that is whether we're going to see a lot of people like you know how Steam sales work. Maybe not for you who plays every game that you buy, but for a lot of people, how it works is you make a lot of impulse buys and then at the end are shocked at how much money you've spent. And so there's a concern that now people will still make a bunch of impulse buys, then be shocked at the amount of money they spent, and then just go and refund a whole bunch of games. And so that might actually cut down on the revenue that previous to this we've expected to get from indie devs have expected to get from Steam sales.
But isn't
Um,
that? I'm sorry, but isn't that though? If you think about it, like,
are you going to say that? Oh, isn't that only fair to the consumer that they be able to,
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, yeah,
Anyway,
it,
like,
it is fair to the consumer. I'm obviously a bit biased in this regard because I am a developer. So anything where it's like, well, developers might lose money from that, I'm like, about. But yeah, at the same time, a lot of those cases where it's like, well, but consumers would be able to, get their money back if this happens. A lot of those cases is like, well, that's actually to the consumer's favor.
exactly.
Um, yeah, and I don't know if I don't want to come across as being anti-consumer in any way here.
And also, like, in the long run, if you think about it, though, you as a developer, do you not like prefer an active base of players playing the game? Like, say, if you have like 20 people that bought your game on impulse and never actually get to play it, those 20 people will never like actually seek out for your next game. If
Yeah, that's what
like,
I meant with the fan base.
Mhm. That's a
like
very good point. Yeah.
if those
Um.
people that never played your game, there's like 20 idle copies. Like, while
Mhm.
you do get the money for those, you actually like it's certainly not as good as if those people played it.
Yeah,
On the long run, at least.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's another advantage of the refund. The possible advantage is that people aren't going to just, or people will be less likely to impulse buy a game and then never play it because they're going to want to buy the game, try it out, and see if they like it or not, so they can get the refund. They can get a refund if they don't. So that could be an advantage too, because it would encourage people to
Like
play the
less
games they buy more instead of just letting them sit in their backlog.
Okay, I have, I think, two more questions, so you will have to see them through. So, throughout the years, Steam was known for its horrible customer support, inability to
Yes.
help anyone with an issue, and generally giving two shits about people. Sorry about the language, though. Like, this is a question I should be more formal. Do you think that this new system is a way of them saying, hey, we got tired of your bullshit, we got tired of your whining, we make enough money already, so get that and shut up? Like, if that's the case, what would you think will happen in the future in this particular survey?
What do I think will happen in terms of their customer service or in terms of people's perception of their customer service?
I think the people's perception of the customer service is already good enough. They know it's shit.
Yeah. I don't think you
So,
can fix what is broken.
Steam definitely has quite a reputation when it comes to their customer service, and not necessarily undeserved. But I think overall, setting aside all qualms about the refund period and questions about how the system's going to work with regards to trading cards and reviews and all that stuff, I think that this is a very good move on their part, and I think it's going to help their image in terms of PR a lot because now from the consumer's perspective this is a unmitigated good thing. I
Yeah,
think
that
it is
was.
for the most part a very good thing that now you're not just stuck paying $60 for a game that ends up not working on your computer, and well, screw you. That's what you get.
Now,
Um,
mostly my question was about how this survey is going to evolve. Like, if
mm,
Valve does not actually care about it and was mostly like throwing a bone,
oh, I
because,
see. Mhm.
yeah, like, which,
Uh,
ah,
that's a good question because you could actually you could also argue that I don't know how long this was in the works for. I literally learned about it on Twitter before they told devs about it. So I don't know how long they were working on it, but it did come out right after that whole paid mods fiasco.
oh, this is my
And
next question.
okay.
This comes to my next
So
question.
it could be that it was like, help, let's recover our PR image. And yeah, it could be something that they just did for that and aren't really gonna try and improve. But on the other hand, this is Valve, and as far as I know, Valve, well, they have a history of PR decisions that
Unpredictability.
resulted in some interesting PR. I'm not sure that they do have a real history of bad business decisions, like for them. Like quite the opposite. Most of the risks they've taken have ended up paying off hugely for them. So if this system is the sort of thing that is going to lose them money in some way, I'm pretty sure that they're going to try and fix those areas.
So, my next question, now that you talked about the paid mods, is that in the past few weeks, Steam has implemented paid mod system. While
Hmm.
many people disliked it, of course, I personally felt it was a nice way of supporting the developers of mods. And the people behind it, I think, like from what I saw in the press conference, really believed in it. And I don't think they thought of it as a cheap way of making money. So, with this new refund system, we get the opposite idea. Like they are giving the consumers way money back. So
Hmm.
are those like short-term changes really connected to each other? And what do you think about like the timing?
From my perspective, they have like a super secret file that like secret stuff to cure people illness and stuff like that. And they're
They're
like,
just
and they're
they're not
searching
giving
through
it
the
away.
and they're searching through the files in case of I don't know, angry mob break here, and they're like giving the people refunds, and they're like, yeah, take it and scram away, you little rascals.
Yeah.
I don't. That could be, like I said, they're just as secretive with devs as they are with consumers.
With
So, and I
CSI.
honestly, if I'm honest with myself, I don't pay very close attention to these sort of things. I mean, that paid mods fiasco, it was. I almost did not have enough time to actually figure out what was going on with that before they had retracted it. Like,
Oh,
because I'm a little slow on these sort of things.
Okay, hang on a second.
But
Someone.
like I said, they could be related. It could be that they've had this refund policy in the works for. I mean, they've been under pressure from the EU about things involving refunds, as far as I've heard. So it could be that they've had this in the works for a while and decided to push it through because of the whole paid mods fiasco, or it could just be a coincidence. I don't know.
I tell you, it's a Half-Life 3 conspiracy.
Oh, God.
That's how it is.
Okay.
They're like,
Yeah,
in
like
case of
Half-Life.
an atomic apocalypse, release Half-Life 3 and like laugh away.
Actually, like no, like perhaps Half-Life 3 is going to be 2 hours long. And this is why
Oh,
they did that.
oh boy, oh boy.
Oh God. Like, this is why they did that. Half-Life 3 is going to be 2 hours long. And they
Yeah.
are going to laugh at our faces.
With the old engine, like the
Yeah.
other Half-Lives, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, isn't episode 2? It's not that much longer than 2 hours, is
No,
it?
it's not. It's not much.
No.
I mean, it's
If
brilliant.
If you know how to
but-
play, yeah. If you don't dive in the fight, yeah.
Last, but certainly not least, as I mentioned before, other than the obvious way to exploit it by keeping the save files and buying, refunding all over until the game is finished, there's one more thing that got around to the minds of people. DRM-free games will basically be sold, refunded, and then the person that refunded them can keep a fully functional copy of the game in their system if they copy it out of the Steam folder. As people behind of games like Democracy 3 have mentioned, that might be where the line is drawn for them, and DRM will become a thing for their games for this particular reason. Do you think that this will force larger publishers to apply DRM the games, like say CD Projekt Red or something? If you do you think that Steam should take specific measures for DRM-free games, or what other solution could possibly be found?
Well, I think in the case of CD Projekt Red, they will literally have an angry mob trying to kill them if they apply DRM to their games.
Yeah.
I will be one of those people. By the
Yeah.
way, I applauded Witcher 3 for having no DRM. I would be really mad if
I don't know about you guys, but I'm gonna be the one selling torches and like forks and stuff, and like, get your forks here, get your forks here for $3. I'm gonna be a fucking billionaire.
Yeah, I mean they're involved with GOG, and GOG has entirely turned itself into like a DRM-free religion at this point. So if they decide to add DRM, they will probably die.
In the fire.
I'm pretty
But-
sure.
Apart from that, that's a really good question, and that's something a friend of mine, well, a acquaintance of mine on the GOG forums actually decided to show how DLC could be exploited in that way. For the Moonsliver, he bought the Moonsliver OST, which is available as DLC on the Steam page,
Sure.
and copied it to its hard drive and then refunded it and got the refund back and had screenshots showing how that worked. And I'm not sure if the same thing could happen with other DLC. The same thing can certainly happen with DRM-free games, like, for instance, Far Cry 2. I happen to know is DRM-free on Steam, and you could just copy that game's folder to your hard drive and, refund it and still play it. But then, of course, well, we've been talking about GOG, and, GOG, every game on that site currently is DRM-free. And so technically you could do the same thing with those games in the past.
But
And
yeah, the difference is that Steam sells itself like something with DRM, and people selling the games on Steam generally only sell the games on Steam. Like there are not all that many games that are sold on other platforms. That like say the Assassin's Creed games. It's basically like what Uplay is just another form of DRM besides Steam, but Steam itself is kind of a DRM thing. So
yeah, in fact, there's a lot of people who consider a game being on Steam, period, no matter if it doesn't have any actual DRM or not, they consider it being on Steam to be it having DRM.
That's kind of like
yeah.
Witcher 2 or Witcher 3 or Witcher Enhanced Edition have no DRM. That's it. Being on Steam does not mean the opposite. Anyway.
Yeah. But like I said, I'm on the GOG forums a lot, and that's full of people who are let's say very passionate in their hatred of DRM.
Oh god, I can see why.
Yeah, DRM sucks. I think that considering how hated DRM has become, I think that big publishers would be very stupid to implement DRM into their DRM free games until they have very convincing stats that, you know, the DRM free games are being abused. If they do decide to go that route, geez, that
Oh,
will be a
fuck.
shit show, won't it?
Oh god,
Um,
it's already a
yeah,
shitstorm.
yeah. I don't think that Steam. Well, I think that Steam should try and work out a solution to figure out how to, you know, keep DRM free games from being abused without adding DRM to them. But I cannot for the life of me tell you what that solution would be. And at the moment, I think, you know, like I've said previously in this interview, I think it's just as likely that this system is going to be perfectly fine, considering, you know, things like how easy it is to pirate games, the fact that you can already abuse the DRM free system on GOG and stuff like that, as it is to be a problem.
So closing up the show.
Thank you very much for coming.
Yep, no problem.
It has been very informative, to say the least. And I believe we had a good time.
I'm glad to come on. I think it's a very interesting issue, and I think there's a lot to talk about with it. And like I said, I think it could go either way. The only thing last thing I wanted to say about it is that, like, in terms of indies, especially, the culture surrounding indie games and indie game purchases is already so based on sort of honor systems where you have, you know, pay what you want for these games and you have indie developers, you know, encouraging people to pirate their games if they, you know, can't afford them or don't know if they want to buy them, stuff like that. So, um, initially I was pretty freaked out by this system, but I think that it has I think it's likely that it's going to end up being okay for indie developers. I don't know what it'll be like for AAA's, but for like smaller indie developers, I think that in the long run it'll end up being fine.
At least there's something to hope, right?
Yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. I mean the reports of people of some developers saying, yeah, 70% of our purchases have been being refunded in the last few days. Those are a bit scary, but like I said, we'll have to wait and see what happens after a few months.
Well, I guess so.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Now, if I am to say goodbye, then I should just go ahead and say goodbye. Fuck everyone watching this, and I guess we'll see you guys in our next. Let's talk about.
Check out David's
God,
artwork
no.
and games, please. No. What? We're not
Okay,
doing that?
so check out what? Like, David, what do you want people to check out? Like, those few people.
Uh
Those
let's see
few
here.
people that watch us, or, you know.
Yeah. Let's see here. What can I easily say in the you can check out my blog, which is ironsnowflakes.blogspot.com. You can find all of my games there pretty easily. Some of them are free. In fact, a lot of them are free. Two of them are on Steam. And you can find all the links there. And yeah, I guess that's about it, really.
Okay, so check out other videos and feel free to do anything you may enjoy with your time. This has been Peanut Gamers.
Signing out.